Should you ever take designer items into the workplace? Find out why wearing luxury to the workplace might not be a good idea by watching today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you my experience and some of yours as well. Hey everyone, my name is Steph. If you are new to this channel and love all things luxury, you, my friends, are in exactly the right place because we get it and not everyone does. And we're going to be touching on that even more. So if you are a luxury lover, make sure you join us by hitting the subscribe button and the bell down below. Should you ever take your designer items to work? I actually get asked this question quite a lot over on my Instagram. If you aren't following me already, my handle is at handbag_holic. A lot of people who have just purchased maybe their first designer bag, or they've got a few and they are unsure as to whether to take it to work for fear of judgment, how people might come across, how it might seem. And I think this is a really interesting topic. So I would love for you to all get involved in the comments down below. What do you think? Do you wear your luxury to work? In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my experience as well as your experiences, because you've been sending me messages on Instagram. I reached out and said, you know, what is your experience of wearing luxury to work? Please do share them with me. And I have some very interesting stories for you. And then at the end of the video, I'll be sharing my final verdict. Should you ever wear designer or luxury items to the workplace? Now, as with any topic like this, we have to take it all with a pinch of salt. There is no hard and fast rules. I just think this is a really interesting topic to cover. Now, the reason it doesn't apply to everyone is because obviously everyone has such different circumstances, like who they are, who they work for, where they work, what the setting's like, what their friends, what work colleagues are like. So yeah, take all of this with a pinch of salt. I think it's an interesting conversation, but it really does depend. If you own a business versus working in a huge corporate environment, for example, it can be completely different, and it really does depend on who you're around. We're going to kick this video off then with my experience of wearing luxury to the workplace. So my experience is I used to work for a large corporate for about 5 years, and then I worked for a small family run business after that. Some of you will already know right now I work completely for myself, so my situation is different. I don't have a workplace to go to. My workplace is this YouTube channel, so I of course wear my luxury. It's very relevant right now. When I was in a big corporate company, I didn't have as much luxury, but I did have some designer bags. Now, would I take them to work with me? The answer is yes. I would take some understated pieces to work with me. And the reason that I felt able to do that was it was a really friendly environment. It didn't feel competitive, and I was in such a fantastic team. It didn't feel like we were all in competition with each other. It was just a really nice dynamic. So the bags that I would take with me that I had at the time would be generally brands that were a bit more understated, because those were the bags that I had. I've talked about this a lot before. My Givenchy Antigona, I have just sold it, but I would use that a lot because it would fit a laptop inside, and you've just got the small Givenchy on the front. Like, we've not got logos, it's just a beautiful leather bag. I also used to use, like really, like when I first started this job, I used to use a Mulberry Bayswater bag. It was one of my first ever designer bags. And I feel like, again, Mulberry is a low-key designer brand, like nothing too flashy, just a really good quality bag. People know the Mulberry logo, they know it is a designer expensive bag, but I feel like it's not attracting too much attention. So then moving on to working for a family run business, okay, this business was so much smaller and the dynamics and the people there were completely different. I wouldn't say it was competitive, but I would say it really wasn't the healthiest of environments, like definitely not. There was a lot of contention around salaries, people being acutely aware of how much they were being paid. There were staff there that were very clearly not happy with their circumstances. So to go in guns blazing with designer goods wasn't necessarily the right thing to do. Now, I did on occasion take designer items into the workplace with me at the family run business. I was at management level, and I feel like there is a time, sometimes I just want to use my nicer items. I would avoid using Louis Vuitton as much as I could, because obviously you've got the monogram. It's probably one of the most recognized brands. So taking my On The Go, for example, with the giant monogram on, would be a no-no. I used to take with me, again, my Givenchy Antigona was one that I used a lot. And when I didn't need such a big bag, as my Givenchy Antigona, although it was like literally amazing bag. I've used that bag so much. I would use my Louis Vuitton Neo Noe bucket bag. My bucket bag is in monogram canvas. It did get more attention than the Givenchy for being a designer item because it's obviously Louis Vuitton, but I feel like it's, you know, it had black leather on it. It's not like screaming in your face as such. It's not like the giant monogram. So those are the bags that I use. Now, they did get noticed. So what happened? It wasn't really the senior level that cared because they were into nice things themselves, whether it was like nice cars, etc. So I didn't feel like any issues with them. It was more about having a younger team who were working their way up, earning less money. Sometimes I would be asked, you know, how much is that? And if you don't give them a straight answer, they would go and Google it and find out how much it costs. And then obviously you get, it kind of spirals to, wow, you spent that on a bag, or what percentage of my bag would be their salary? Like, oh my gosh, that would be like a month's salary, for example. Nothing overall too negative came out of it. And I would still use, if I was in a job, I would still use my bags like Givenchy Antigona. Like, I think Givenchy, people know it's designer, but it's just not in your face as much. But yeah, I would definitely stick with more understated brands. Now let's find out what some of your experiences of wearing luxury to the workplace have been. Okay, so I've got some notes here. These are responses to the Instagram that I put out. The first one then, she said she took her designer bag to the workplace and she was asked mostly if it was a fake. I've had this. People are like, oh, is that a fake? Did you get it from, you know, somewhere like Turkey? I think that's interesting. Basically, they are sounding out as to whether you paid about 50 quid for the bag or if you paid hundreds, maybe thousands for the bag. I think that is I don't even know how do people respond to that? I mean, I would never claim I have a fake bag because I personally don't choose to support the counterfeit market for numerous reasons. You don't know where your money's going. You don't know like what kind of criminals you're potentially funding, but anyway, that's a topic for another video. I would never say to anyone my bag is fake, but I can imagine if you are in an awkward situation and you don't want to admit that it's real. I do know some people say that they just like, yeah, it's fake, I just got it from so-and-so, but it's not. Someone else says that they were asked a lot about how much it was. I covered this in another video, but it was quite a while ago now, on how to respond when someone asks you how much your bag is worth. I think the conclusion was it depends who's asking you. If they are inquisitive because they actually want to buy a bag like that one day and they are supportive in general and they aren't like competitive and you know they're asking from a good place, share it with them. If you think they are asking to be nosy, to try and maybe drag you down a little bit, to kind of poke fun at the fact that they would never spend that on a bag. People like to tell people that, you know, I would never spend that on a bag, or I even get it on this YouTube channel quite a lot, people saying that, you know, I would spend it on X, Y, and Z rather than a bag. That's cool. Like, everyone is allowed to do with their money what they see, well, like what they want to, how they see fit, in my personal opinion. So if someone's asking from just a place of being malicious, at that point I guess you could say that it was fake, or a lot of people just say like that is rude, or I'm just not gonna say, or go and Google it yourself. That was kind of the conclusion out of that video. What would you do? The next one is a very awkward one. A colleague said, oh, you must be paid a lot more than me then. And this goes back to knowing where you work, who is around you, how are they feeling about money and life and salaries in general. If it is a place of people feeling underpaid, disgruntled staff, it is probably wise to not discuss it as much as possible. If someone asks outright, you know, personally, I wouldn't lie, but yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of jealousy around, whether it's like a nice car, nice jewelry, nice clothes, a nice bag. You're gonna get it, like in all walks of life, you're gonna get it everywhere. It makes me sad because generally these people go into kind of victim mindset a little bit, and it's like, well, you could have this too. Yeah, I think this is an interesting one. Oh, you must be paid a lot more than me then. But maybe they're just saying it like they can't see themselves spending that on a particular item, such as a bag, and they don't mean it in any kind of malicious way. It's just really light-hearted. Okay, next one. Colleagues were quite nasty. They had a Michael Kors bag, and the colleagues would say, you must have a lot of money, and we must pay you too much. Okay, so this is interesting because this is the level above. This is like probably the directors of the business, whatever it is, we pay you too much. Yeah, this is a hard one, okay? And this is why, I'm gonna summarize this, but this is why I would always be careful about wearing luxury to the workplace, knowing who is around you and knowing that, you know, you don't want to look like you are making more money than the people that work above you. And that makes me sad. I don't agree with that. I think, you know, if we lived in a perfect world, everyone would be happy for each other, but we live in a very not perfect world, and unfortunately, jealousy is the emotion that no one suffers from, but everyone feels. Yeah, I'm sorry that you went through that. That was a Michael Kors bag. She said, oh my gosh, what would they say if I'd have had a Louis Vuitton? Michael Kors, you know, a few £100s for a bag. So yeah, that's interesting. If I were you, I definitely wouldn't take any more luxury to the workplace, and maybe get out of that workplace as well, because it sounds a bit toxic. The next one, how can you waste your money on that? Do you know what? Everyone's money is theirs to waste however they want. And this really frustrates me, because I know firsthand, and I'm not going to go too much into this, but I know firsthand, I have bought designer bags and overall I have made money on my collection as opposed to lost it. So I have seen my bags as investments. I know not everyone wants to see them like that, and they absolutely shouldn't. You really do need to know what you're doing, but like any investment. So it's cool that you go and put it in stocks and shares. It's cool that you go and maybe buy a car. Like, all these kinds of investments aren't frowned upon, they're just normal. But if you want to buy something that you get to use and enjoy, like, who is anyone else to judge that? It's just that so many people don't understand. Whoa, you must have a rich husband. This comment makes my blood boil. So many people assume, especially with me, people assume my boyfriend buys me bags. He has never purchased me a bag. Every single bag I have is 100% funded by myself, not him. And for people to just assume a woman needs a man to buy her things, I think is just so ridiculous. And do you know what? If a man does buy a woman things, like, I'm not saying that that shouldn't happen either. Like, cool, do you. Like, if your husband wants to treat you, or your partner wants to treat you to a luxury item, that's amazing. Like, I'm sure we all treat each other in nice ways, but just the snap judgment, I think is really sexist, to be honest. It must be so nice to be so rich. Okay, this is a good one as well. I think when people feel stuck or they aren't earning as much as they would like, which is, you know, a lot of people with victim mindset, people that don't take control of their lives, these are the people that they alienate people or try to put them down for having something they don't. And actually, they need to spend more time with the people that have what they want, because they're going to help them get there even quicker. So I actually think this mentality is just absolutely ridiculous. I hope that one makes sense. Okay, the next one. You apparently don't need a raise then for wearing a luxury bag to work. Oh my gosh. This, unfortunately, there are so many people out there that would say or think something like this. Whether they say it, maybe not, but you know, I definitely think it can be a flippant comment. And being in certain workplaces, there's definitely, I've experienced a level of passive aggressiveness. So this, I would say, is quite passive aggressive. Like, clearly you don't need a raise then. Like, everyone has different outgoings, everyone has different circumstances. Who is anyone else to say that? Like, surely a raise should be based on purely your work and your outcome. It should never be based on the fact that you've been able to buy a luxury good that maybe this person doesn't know, maybe you've been saving for like years and years and years, maybe you were gifted it, like whatever it is. Like, to say someone's work isn't worthy of a raise because they've decided to spend their money where someone doesn't think they should have done is ridiculous. It must be so nice not to have to work. How rude is that? This person was at work. How rude. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe some of these stories, guys. My heart is breaking. You must have more money than sense. I've heard this one before. You must have more money than sense. Again, this is people's complete ignorance, and I have like zero capacity for this level of ignorance. You know, I could go on about how bags can be good investments, but I have like I don't have a whole lot of patience when it comes to people like this. I feel like they are closed-minded. They do not understand. They don't want to understand, and they just want to be horrible to people. So this one's great. She said, people would ask how I can afford it, and I'd say we're literally at work right now. Exactly. Honestly, it's like we are earning money right now. We are at work. That is how I pay for it. That is brilliant. I absolutely love that. If anyone ever says that to you, that is a fantastic response. Someone also commented saying she lives and works in Dubai, so she said it's really normal here and she never gets any kind of questions. And I think this also raises the importance of cultural differences, and again, where you work, who are you surrounded by? Because if they are of growth mindset, if they want to succeed and see other people succeed, then it's okay to have items like this. If, for example, you aren't though, it can be a really contentious subject. But yes, in Dubai, I went recently, I did a vlog. You can check it out after you watch this video. I'll pop a link up here. It was fantastic. I saw so many designer bags, and it really is a different kind of culture when it comes to luxury. In Dubai, it is very much about the shopping, it is very much about the designer goods. And yeah, you see a lot of that. And I definitely can imagine that people just don't comment because it is much more normal. My final verdict, should you ever wear luxury to the workplace? My answer is, if you like luxury and nice things, yes. However, if you are in an environment where it could be interpreted in the wrong way and everyone's circumstance is completely unique, I would go down the route of a less conspicuous bag or item. Mulberry, Givenchy, the Celine belt bag is beautiful. Just, yeah, less logos basically, and more down the kind of sophisticated route. I would spend more money on my evening bags, you know, when I'm not at work, when I'm going out, for example. That is how I would do it. Now that I work for myself, I can buy and use whichever bags I see fit, basically, but it all just depends on your circumstances. And I think if you do decide to wear your luxury purchases to work, despite what anyone thinks, you could potentially open yourself up for conversations that you don't need to have with anyone, justifying why you've purchased a luxury item. So I think the best thing is to not put it in front of them. Save it for your family, save it for your friends. But yeah, if you do want to wear your luxury to the workplace, you feel comfortable doing that and you just don't care what other people think, that is absolutely awesome. You should so go ahead and wear it. Personally, as I was climbing the career ladder, I was aware that I liked nice things and would buy certain things, but I don't want people to feel too awkward around me. And this is the most frustrating thing that I found about being in a workplace in general, is that you've kind of got to preempt and think about all the people around you except yourself for how you might make them feel, which is obviously, you know, as an empathic person, you want to make sure people around you feel comfortable to a degree without dulling your own, you know, what you like. But one thing I will say is, if you do want to wear your luxury and people penalize you for it or say stupid shit like, you know, it must be so nice to be rich or whatever it is, and it's like a passive aggressive comment, maybe think about, is that the workplace for you? Like, is your end goal to stay there? Maybe it should be to leave and to be surrounded by people who are of more a growth and open mindset and are less judgmental. And one last point that I forgot to mention is security at the workplace. Someone messaged me about this. You know, if you are taking an expensive item, whatever it is, sunglasses, a bag, a piece of jewelry, and you might be taking it off, if you are in the workplace, can you keep it somewhere safe? Do you feel safe with that item? Can you leave it on your lunch break as you go out and get some food or whatever it is? Certain workplaces, you might have lockers to put your stuff in. But yeah, someone raised this as a really good point. Like, make sure you also think about how you can keep your items safe. And if you don't feel safe, I just wouldn't take it. I can't wait to see what your thoughts are on this topic. Like I said, please do get involved in the comments down below. If you ever want to chat to me over on Instagram, my handle is at handbag_holic. I love catching up with you guys on a more personal level. What are you buying now? What are you thinking? And just questions like this. I think it's super insightful, and it means that I can create videos like this, which hopefully will provoke some conversation around quite a delicate topic. Now make sure you don't go anywhere, because coming up next I will link my latest video release here for you and over here. My 11 most expensive luxury purchases. Do I regret any of them? Enjoy.